I think I might know why
Shalom
Mike
unto
Huckabee
you,
went to visit
part 11.
Israel and Jonathan Pollard.
So, Mike Huckabee. Now, I remembered that name, and I couldn't remember why it stuck in my brain. And so, shout out to Ian Carroll for turning me on to WikiLeaks whenever I'm like, I know there's something about somebody whose name God has stuck in my brain for a reason. And so I put his name into WikiLeaks, and then I confirmed it through other sources. And I'm just going to share some info about our outed Mike Huckabee. Just to give you an idea that I am not making this up, I put his name in. This is the first thing that popped up. You can go here to view source. Oh, it's larger than that, so no, you can't. So it's discussing a gentleman by the name of Wayne DuMond, who Huckabee advocated to be released from prison. It looks like Clinton. So Huckabee denied his clemency, but according to the source, that was a lie. He pled for the man's parole at the parole board and said that Clinton okayed it. Now, yay or nay, I don't know. So, the Clintons, I made a little short showing that they are coming before Congress. I think it's the 17th and 18th of December 2025. And now we have Huckabee being discussed again, and Pollard, a convicted spy. So I think I mentioned this, but I got a phone call, so I got to rewind in my brain because I'm doing this on my phone. But Huckabee, I knew there was a reason I didn't like him. But you got to understand, when this all came out, like 2005, well, probably my life was pretty chaotic for a long time. So I would file stuff away because with what I was having to deal with in the moment, I couldn't really think deeply about shit that just didn't make any sense. You know what I mean? But I knew that it was relevant to the grander scheme of life. But I was just trying to survive in the moment. I think that's kind of like PTSD, really. I wasn't in the military per se, but I've been in the midst of the war for a long time, right? Because the war on humanity is pretty intense. So, that being said, let's talk about some things that have always bugged me about the Clintons. The Clintons were the major proponents for the building of more prisons, locking more people up, and privatizing the prison industry. And when I was a child, I had an uncle, right or wrongly, was 17, and he caught a life sentence on a murder charge here in Florida, back when we still had parole. And so I've kind of followed that, and you know, and I've always been interested in that system. Plus, I was a product of the foster care industry, so I recognized through the church foster care group home industry at that. So I knew like, I knew enough to know that it wasn't any fun, you know. So there was a gentleman by the name of Wayne DuMond who, and I'll put up screenshots, who was convicted. This was written in 93, so that'll give you an idea of how far back we're going now. He was convicted of this word of a young lady who was like the third cousin of Bill Clinton, and the sheriff Conley, this gentleman, Wayne DuMond, was castrated. So he did like 30-something years in prison. Huckabee advocated for his release. It didn't. Here, I'll put this up so you can read it while I'm talking. He ended up getting paroled. He married a woman. She was killed in a car accident on her way to do something. And then he ended up moving to Missouri and was subsequently arrested for 2 more murders and this word of 2 more women. Now, I don't know. You know, I haven't really dug into the case, but it already stinks to me. This is how Arkansas sums it up. And you can see right here, they thought he might have been framed, so Huckabee arranged for his parole. Now, DuMond was a soldier in the Vietnam War. He had, I think, 3 sons. Here's the interesting thing, and I'm going to have to do, like, I'll have to talk about the rest of this later. But he had, soon after getting out of the military, that he had these uncontrollable rage outbursts. Him and 2 other men were accused of beating a man to death in Oklahoma. He was accused of assaulting a teenage girl in Tacoma, Washington. Another sexual assault. Now, here's where things get a little interesting. Jonathan Pollard, who's linked to Huckabee in 1984, Jonathan Pollard sold numerous state secrets. There was another report, like it literally filled a room 6 by 10, including an NSA 10-volume manual on how the U.S. gathers its signal intelligence. And he disclosed the names of thousands of people who had cooperated with U.S. Intel. He was apprehended in 85, and in 87, he was sentenced to life in prison. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Pollard was released from prison in 2015. His parole expired in 2020, and he moved to Jerusalem soon after. Since his relocation, Pollard has endorsed Israeli far-right minister Itamar Ben-Gvir and advocated a population transfer to relocate Gaza's Palestinians to Ireland. I don't even know. We're not even going to get lost in the weeds with Ireland, because that's a whole other rabbit hole if you do any research into the Vikings. But let's just leave that there. Pollard was born in Galveston. They relocated to Indiana, and Pollard became a Navy field. He entered the Navy and was in Navy Field Operational Intelligence Office at the NIC. So the plot thickens yet again. Stay tuned to part 12. Shalom unto you.